Whispers of the Appalachians. In the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, nestled among the rolling hills and dense forests, lay a small, close-knit community named Cedar Hollow. The town was surrounded by towering pines and ancient oaks, their leaves whispering secrets of the past. Life here moved at a slower pace, marked by the changing seasons and the rhythm of the land. The people of Cedar Hollow were a hardy folk, proud of their heritage. They lived in simple log cabins, many passed down through generations. The community thrived on farming, crafting, and storytelling. Evenings would often find families gathered around fires, sharing tales that intertwined history, folklore, and lessons learned. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an amber glow across the valley, a storm was brewing. Thunder rumbled in the distance, sending a chill through the air. It was on such nights that stories of the Wraith of Widow's Peak were told. A ghostly figure said to wander the mountains, searching for her lost love who never returned from the Civil War. Old Man Silas, the town's unofficial historian, had seen the stormy nights bring out the bravest of souls, eager to test their mettle against the tales. He settled into his usual spot by the fire, a gnarled stick in hand, ready to weave his magic. "Now listen close, young uns," he began, his voice low and gravelly, "for I'm about to tell you of Mary Elizabeth, the Wraith herself." The children huddled closer, eyes wide, as the flames danced and flickered. Mary Elizabeth was once a spirited girl from Cedar Hollow, beloved by all for her laughter and kindness. She fell in love with a brave soldier named James, who promised to return to her after the war. But as the conflict raged, James was lost to the horrors of battle, leaving Mary Elizabeth heartbroken. Each day she would climb Widow's Peak, her tears falling like rain, hoping to catch a glimpse of him on the horizon. As the seasons changed, so did Mary Elizabeth. She became a shadow of her former self, consumed by grief. One fateful evening, in a desperate search for closure, she ventured higher up the peak during a terrible storm. Lightning split the sky, illuminating her figure against the darkened backdrop. The townsfolk searched for her, but she vanished, leaving only echoes of her cries. From that day on, Silas continued, they say she roams the mountains, a wraith, still searching for James. On stormy nights, if you listen closely, you can hear her weeping. The children gasped, and one brave boy, Eli, decided he wanted to see the wraith for himself. "I'm going to find her," he declared, eyes gleaming with determination. Silas chuckled softly. "You think it's a grand adventure, but remember, Eli, some stories are better left untold. The mountains hold their secrets close." But Eli was undeterred. The next day, with his heart pounding like the thunder above, he set out for Widow's Peak. The path was rugged, winding through thickets of bramble and tall grass. As he climbed higher, the wind howled, carrying whispers that sent shivers down his spine. He reached the summit just as dark clouds rolled in, casting an eerie shadow over the land. Suddenly, the air grew still, and Eli felt an unexplainable chill. Then he saw her, a figure in white, her long hair flowing like mist around her. She stood at the edge of the cliff, staring into the abyss. "Mary Elizabeth," he called out, his voice trembling. The figure turned, her sorrowful eyes meeting his. "Have you come to help me find him?" she asked, her voice like the rustle of leaves. Eli felt an overwhelming sense of compassion. "I want to help you," he replied, though he was unsure how. "What can I do?" With a gentle sigh, she pointed to the valley below. "You must tell my story. You must help the world remember those lost in war, so they may never be forgotten." As the first drops of rain began to fall, Eli nodded solemnly. "I will tell you a story, I promise." In that moment, a flash of lightning illuminated the sky, and just as quickly as she appeared, Mary Elizabeth was gone. The winds picked up, and Eli knew it was time to return home. He hurried down the mountain, his heart heavy yet filled with purpose. Back in Cedar Hollow, he shared his encounter with Silas and the townsfolk. They listened in awe, their hearts aching for the love that transcended time and tragedy. From that day forward, the story of Mary Elizabeth was told with renewed vigor, a reminder of the sacrifices made and the bonds that never truly fade. As the years passed, Cedar Hollow thrived, celebrating not just the joys of life, but also honoring the memories of those who came before. Each autumn, when the leaves turned gold, they would gather at the peak and share stories, lighting lanterns to guide the spirits home. And on stormy nights, echoes in Cedar Hollow. Cedar Hollow was not just a place, it was a tapestry woven from the lives of its people. Each home held its own story, but none more so than the small cabin belonging to the Hawkins family. Matilda Hawkins, a widow with 3 children, often gathered them by the fire to share tales of the mountains. She taught them to appreciate the beauty and history surrounding them, infusing her stories with lessons of resilience and community. One evening, as the family settled in for the night, a fierce storm rattled their cabin. The wind howled like a chorus of lost souls, and the rain drummed against the roof. Matilda looked at her children, Lily, the eldest at 12, strong-willed and compassionate, Ben, the curious 8-year-old, and little Emma, barely 5, who clung to her mother's side. "Let me tell you about Mary Elizabeth," Matilda said, sensing the fear in their eyes. As she recounted the tale of the wraith, the children listened intently, captivated by the story of love and loss. Mary Elizabeth was not just a ghost, Matilda explained. She represents all the souls who long for connection, reminding us that love endures beyond the grave. That night, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that Mary Elizabeth's spirit lingered nearby. "Do you think she's lonely?" she whispered to Ben, her imagination ignited. "Maybe we could do something for her." Inspired, the siblings decided to honor the wraith. The next morning, they gathered wildflowers from the meadow, daisies, violets, and ferns, and wove them into a crown. "This will show her she's remembered," Lily declared. They trekked to Widow's Peak, the air electric with anticipation. As they reached the summit, the wind whispered through the trees, and the clouds began to part, revealing a glimpse of blue sky. The children placed the flower crown on a large rock and spoke softly. "Mary Elizabeth, we remember you," they said in unison. "You are not alone." Suddenly, a gentle breeze stirred the leaves around them. It felt as if the mountains themselves sighed, embracing their gesture. The children returned home, hearts lighter, believing they had brought a bit of solace to the spirit. Weeks turned into months, and the story of Mary Elizabeth began to intertwine with the lives of Cedar Hollow's residents. Inspired by the children's tribute, the townsfolk started a new tradition, an annual gathering at Widow's Peak to honor not only Mary Elizabeth, but all those lost to war and heartache. On the day of the first gathering, families came together, bringing lanterns and homemade dishes. As they set up a long wooden table adorned with flowers and candles, Silas told stories of the past, weaving in the tales of those who had fought bravely. Eli, now a bit older and with newfound respect for the power of storytelling, stood up to share his own experience with the wraith. "Mary Elizabeth reminds us that we must cherish our loved ones," he said. "Every story told is a way to keep their memory alive." As night fell, they lit their lanterns and placed them around the peak. The glow illuminated the faces of children and adults alike, filling the night with warmth. They shared laughter and food, honoring the past while creating new memories. In the following years, Cedar Hollow transformed into a vibrant community, drawing in people from surrounding towns. The annual gathering became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in darkness, there is light to be found in shared stories and connections. Yet, as the gatherings continued, some townsfolk claimed to have glimpsed the wraith in the distance, her form shimmering like mist in the moonlight. Each sighting ignited whispers among the community, adding depth to the legend. It was said that on stormy nights, when the wind howled just right, her voice could be heard, a haunting melody that echoed through the valleys. One particularly fierce stormy night, as the winds roared and the rain fell in torrents, Matilda awoke to a soft knock at her door. Startled, she opened it to find Lily standing there, wide-eyed and breathless. "Mom, I think I saw her," Lily exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. She was on the mountain, and she looked peaceful. Matilda knelt to meet her daughter's gaze. "Are you sure, sweetheart? It could have just been the storm playing tricks on you." "No, Mom, I felt something. It was like she was thanking us," Lily insisted. That night, the family huddled close, with Matilda recounting the legend of Mary Elizabeth once more. She spoke of love's enduring nature, reminding her children that sometimes, when we honor the past, it can resonate in ways we cannot see but can feel in our hearts. As time flowed like the rivers through the mountains, Cedar Hollow thrived. The people learned to balance their modern lives with the traditions that rooted them in the land. The story of Mary Elizabeth became a part of the town's identity, a reminder of the power. Legacies of the heart. As the years rolled on, Cedar Hollow became a tapestry of intertwined stories, each thread representing a life shaped by the mountains. The annual gathering in honor of Mary Elizabeth continued to grow, drawing families from near and far. It became a time not just for remembrance, but for celebration of the bonds that tied the community together. Among those drawn to the event was a newcomer, Clara Thompson, who had recently moved to Cedar Hollow with her 2 young daughters after the loss of her husband. The transition had been hard for Clara, who found herself struggling to adjust to the isolation of the mountains. But as she learned about the gathering, she felt an inexplicable pull to participate. It seemed like a place where grief could mingle with healing. On the day of the gathering, Clara and her daughters arrived at Widow's Peak with a picnic basket filled with homemade treats, apple pie, cornbread, and berry preserves. The scene was alive with laughter and the smell of food wafting through the air, but Clara's heart felt heavy. As she set up her blanket, she noticed a group of children playing nearby. They were weaving flower crowns, and one of them, a girl with bright eyes, approached her. "Would you like to join us?" Lily asked, her infectious enthusiasm making Clara smile despite her sadness. "Sure, I'd love to," Clara replied, her voice soft. As they sat together, weaving flowers, Lily shared the story of Mary Elizabeth. Clara listened intently, feeling a connection to the tale of love and loss that mirrored her own heartache. The innocence of the children's laughter brought a warmth to her spirit, reminding her of the joy she once had. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across the sky, Silas gathered everyone around for the evening storytelling. Clara joined the circle, feeling a mix of nervousness and anticipation. She had always been a shy woman, but something about the community made her want to share her story. When it was her turn, Clara took a deep breath. "I'm new here, but I've heard so much about Mary Elizabeth," she began. "I lost my husband recently, and I came to Cedar Hollow hoping to find some peace. Hearing your stories today has made me realize that even in our darkest moments, love continues to bind us together." The crowd was silent, their empathy palpable. Clara felt the warmth of their acceptance. "I want to honor my husband and all those who have loved deeply. I hope to carry that love forward, just as you all do for Mary Elizabeth." As she spoke, Clara noticed a flicker of light in the distance. She turned to see the lanterns being lit one by one, illuminating the peak and creating a warm glow that contrasted with the encroaching darkness. The sight was breathtaking, and it felt as if the spirits of the lost were joining them in the celebration. That night, the air was filled with stories, laughter, and songs. Clara found herself swept up in the joy of the community. As she watched her daughters play with the other children, she realized that she was not alone. She was part of something larger, a family woven together by shared history and hope. After the gathering, Clara became a regular at Cedar Hollow's events, slowly forging friendships with her neighbors. Matilda, in particular, took Clara under her wing, inviting her for tea and sharing recipes. Through their conversations, Clara learned more about the history of the mountains and the resilience of its people. One day, as Clara and Matilda sat on the porch, sipping tea, Clara shared her struggles. "Some days it feels overwhelming. I want to honor my husband, but I don't know how." Matilda reached out, placing a comforting hand on Clara's. "You honor him every day by living your life fully. Just as Mary Elizabeth's story teaches us, love is never lost. It transforms and endures. Share your love through kindness, through your girls, through every moment you cherish." Inspired by Matilda's words, Clara decided to create a new tradition in Cedar Hollow, a community garden. She envisioned a place where families could come together to plant and nurture a living tribute to love and life. With Matilda's help, she organized a meeting at the next gathering, inviting everyone to join her vision. On the day of the first planting, the sun shone brightly as families gathered at the chosen site, a patch of land near the edge of the woods. Clara felt a mix of excitement and nerves as she addressed the crowd. "Thank you all for coming. I believe this garden can be a symbol of our connections, of love, loss, and new beginnings." As they dug in the soil, laughter filled the air, and stories were shared over the rhythm of shovels hitting dirt. The children played, and the adults reminisced about their loved ones, weaving tales of joy and sorrow. Clara felt her heart swell with gratitude, realizing how deeply she had found her place in Cedar Hollow. The heart of Cedar Hollow. As the seasons changed, Cedar Hollow transformed under the gentle hand of time. The garden that Clara had initiated became a sanctuary not just for plants, but for friendships. It was a living testament to the love and resilience that defined the town. The garden was filled with vibrant flowers, luscious vegetables, and fragrant herbs. Families gathered regularly to tend to it, sharing laughter and stories, nurturing both the plants and each other. Clara, with her daughters, found solace in the dirt beneath her nails and the warmth of the sun on her face. Each day spent there was a step towards healing, a reminder that life continued to bloom even amidst loss. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and cast a golden hue over the garden, Clara was kneeling beside Lily and Ben, teaching them how to plant tomatoes. "Remember, you have to give them space to grow," she said, emphasizing the importance of nurturing both the plants and their roots. Just then, Matilda approached with a basket of fresh herbs. "How about we make a feast with our harvest tonight?" she suggested, her eyes twinkling with excitement. Clara beamed at the idea. "Yes, let's invite everyone." That evening, as twilight descended, the community gathered at the garden. Tables were set under the old oak tree, adorned with strings of twinkling lights and blooming flowers. The air was filled with the enticing aroma of roasted vegetables and freshly baked bread. Laughter rang out as children chased each other, and adults caught up on life's happenings. Silas stood to make a toast. "To our community, may we continue to grow together, just like this garden," and to Mary Elizabeth, who reminds us that love is the most fertile soil. The crowd raised their glasses in unison, their hearts swelling with gratitude. Clara felt a profound sense of belonging. She was no longer just a newcomer. She was part of something beautiful woven into the fabric of Cedar Hollow. As weeks passed, Clara and Matilda began organizing workshops in the garden, canning, preserving, and crafting. They invited locals to share their skills and stories, enriching the community's knowledge and connections. Clara discovered a passion for teaching, finding joy in helping others preserve the bounty of the earth. One crisp fall day, while preparing for a workshop on herbal remedies, Clara found herself reminiscing about her husband. She often spoke of him to her daughters, sharing stories of his kindness and laughter. He would have loved this, she thought, glancing at the vibrant blooms surrounding her. That evening, as they prepared for the workshop, Clara noticed Lily sitting quietly, deep in thought. "What's on your mind, sweetheart?" Clara asked, kneeling beside her. "I miss Daddy," Lily whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Will he ever come back?" Clara wrapped her arms around her daughter, holding her close. "He may not be here in the way we want, but he's always with us, in our hearts, in our memories, and in everything we do. We can honor him by living our lives fully, just as we're doing here." Lily nodded, her expression softening. "Can we tell everyone about him at the workshop? I want them to know him too." "Of course," Clara replied, her heart swelling with pride. "We can share his favorite recipe. It will be a way to keep his spirit alive." As the workshop began, Clara introduced the topic with enthusiasm, demonstrating how to infuse oils with herbs. When it was Lily's turn, she stood before the group, a little shy but determined. "My daddy loved to cook," she began, her voice steadying. "He made the best pancakes, and I want to share his recipe with you all." As she recited the recipe, Clara watched the warmth spread through the room. It was a moment of vulnerability and connection, bridging the gap between past and present. The attendees listened intently, many nodding in agreement as they shared their own stories of loved ones. At night, after the workshop, Clara and her daughters prepared the pancake recipe together. As they mixed the batter, Clara felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her. They cooked, laughed, and sang, creating new memories while honoring the old. The following morning, Clara decided to host a pancake sundae at the garden, inviting the entire community to join in. She envisioned a morning filled with laughter, stories, and delicious food, where everyone could share their own family recipes and memories. On the day of the event, the garden buzzed with excitement. Tables were set up, and the smell of pancakes wafted through the air. Families brought their favorite toppings, fruits, syrups, and whipped cream. Children ran around, their laughter echoing in the crisp morning air. As everyone gathered, Clara welcomed them. "Today is about sharing our love, through food, stories, and the memories we hold dear." Let's celebrate our connections, just like Mary Elizabeth would want us to. The community joined in, exchanging stories about their own loved ones, and Clara felt the atmosphere fill with warmth and understanding. The gathering became a beloved tradition, symbolizing the strength of the bonds they had forged. As the seasons turned, Cedar Hollow thrived. Clara continued to find purpose in the garden, her heart growing lighter with each passing day. The community rallied around her, offering support and friendship, and the spirit of Mary Elizabeth lived on through their shared experiences. One winter evening, as snow blanketed the mountains, Clara stood by the window with her daughters, watching the flakes dance in the moonlight. It was a time for reflection, and she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She realized that Cedar Hollow had not just healed her, it had transformed her. With her heart full, she decided to organize a winter gathering, a celebration of warmth and togetherness during the colder months. They would decorate the garden with evergreen branches, twinkling lights, and ornaments made from natural materials. As the night of the gathering approached, Clara felt a sense of excitement and purpose. The community came together to help decorate, transforming the garden into a winter wonderland. The laughter of children mingled with the sound of jingling bells as families crafted ornaments and garlands. On the night of the celebration, Clara stood at the entrance of the garden, welcoming everyone. The sight of twinkling lights and the smell of hot cocoa filled the air, creating an atmosphere of warmth and joy. As the crowd gathered, Clara felt her heart swell with love for the community she had come to cherish. Silas once again took the lead, sharing stories of winter traditions from days gone by. Clara, inspired by the spirit of togetherness, stepped forward. Tonight, let's not just celebrate the season. Let's also honor those we've lost, like Mary Elizabeth, who remind us of the importance of love and connection. As they lit candles in memory of their loved ones, Clara felt a wave of warmth enveloping her, as if the spirits of the departed were celebrating alongside them. It was a moment of unity, where past and present converged, reinforcing the bonds that held Cedar Hollow together. In that beautiful garden, surrounded by friends and family, Clara realized that life, like the seasons, was a cycle of love, loss, and rebirth. The mountains stood tall around them, witnesses to their journeys, and she felt at peace knowing that Mary Elizabeth's legacy would continue to inspire generations to come. With a heart full of hope and gratitude, Clara knew that she had found not just a home, but a family rooted in the stories of the past, nourished by love, and blossoming with the promise of tomorrow. A tapestry of seasons. As winter melted into spring, Cedar Hollow awakened from its slumber. The garden, once blanketed in snow, began to stir, sprouts pushing through the rich, dark earth. Clara felt a renewed sense of hope and excitement, eager to see what the new season would bring. This spring, Clara wanted to introduce a new project, an art installation that would honor Mary Elizabeth and the stories of those who had passed. Inspired by the vibrant blooms of the garden, she envisioned a series of painted stones, each representing a loved one, adorned with colors and symbols that reflected their lives. She called a community meeting, inviting everyone to contribute. "Let's create a path through the garden that tells our stories," she proposed, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "Each stone will hold a memory, a piece of our hearts." The townsfolk were immediately intrigued. Matilda stood up, her eyes shining with encouragement. "This is a wonderful idea, Clara. It's a way to connect our past with our present, honoring those we love while celebrating our community." With renewed energy, they set a date for a weekend of painting. Families gathered in the garden, bringing rocks, paints, and brushes. Laughter filled the air as children splattered colors and adults shared stories behind each symbol they painted. Clara felt a warm glow of belonging as she watched everyone come together, united by shared love and memories. Lily and Ben were especially eager, creating stones adorned with flowers and butterflies, symbols of growth and transformation. Clara joined them, painting a rock in memory of her husband, a simple design of a sun, representing warmth and the love he had brought into her life. As they painted, Clara shared stories with her children. "Your father loved to hike these mountains," she said, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "He would tell us that every step we take connects us to the earth and those who came before us." With each brushstroke, Clara felt her heart heal a little more. The project became not just about remembrance, but also about celebration and hope for the future. On the day of the unveiling, the garden buzzed with excitement. Families gathered, and the air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the sound of children's laughter. Clara stood before the community, her heart full. "Today, we honor our loved ones and the stories that shape us," she began. "This path will serve as a reminder of the love that endures through time and the connections we share." As they walked the path, each painted stone radiated warmth and memories. Clara noticed tears glistening in the eyes of some as they reflected on their loved ones. Others smiled, sharing laughter as they remembered the joyous moments. It was a tapestry of emotions, beautifully woven together. At the end of the path stood a large stone, painted by the entire community, a vibrant tribute to Mary Elizabeth. Clara felt a deep sense of connection to the spirit of the wraith, knowing that her story was now interwoven with theirs. As the seasons turned, the garden flourished, becoming a central part of life in Cedar Hollow. The path of painted stones became a beloved spot for reflection, gatherings, and storytelling. Clara often found herself walking the path, feeling the spirits of her husband and Mary Elizabeth guiding her steps. Summer arrived, bringing with it a vibrant festival, a celebration of community and the gifts of the earth. Clara took the lead, organizing games, music, and a potluck feast. The event became a way to give thanks for the harvest and the friendships that had blossomed. On the day of the festival, the garden transformed into a lively hub. Colorful banners hung from trees, and the sound of music filled the air. Families brought dishes made from the garden's bounty, crispy green beans, fresh salads, and homemade jams. Laughter echoed as children ran through the rows of flowers, their faces painted with excitement. As Clara stood at the center of the garden, she felt a surge of gratitude for the life she had built in Cedar Hollow. The community, once strangers, had become her family. She felt her husband's presence with her, reminding her that love could bloom even after loss. During the festivities, Silas took to the stage to share stories of the town's history, weaving tales of resilience and connection. Clara watched the crowd, captivated by the way their faces lit up with recognition and nostalgia. It was a moment of unity, a celebration of life itself. As evening fell, Clara gathered everyone for a final toast. "To love, to memory, and to the bonds that tie us together," she declared, raising her glass. "May we always honor our past while nurturing our present and future." The crowd cheered, their voices rising in a chorus of joy. Lanterns were lit, illuminating the garden with a warm glow. Clara's heart swelled with love for this community, knowing that together they would continue to flourish. In the following months, Clara's garden became a hub of creativity and learning. Workshops flourished, covering everything from pottery to storytelling. Clara found herself immersed in these activities, discovering new passions alongside her daughters. One day, while planting herbs, Clara noticed Ben sitting quietly, deep in thought. "What's on your mind, buddy?" she asked, kneeling beside him. "I was thinking about Mary Elizabeth," he replied. "Do you think she ever found James?" Clara smiled gently, touched by his curiosity. "I believe she did, in a way. Love never really leaves us. It transforms and stays with us, even if we can't see it. Just like the flowers here, they may wilt, but they come back, stronger every time." Ben nodded, his young mind processing her words. "So we can keep loving people even when they're gone." "Exactly," Clara said, wrapping her arm around him. "And we can celebrate that love in everything we do." As autumn approached, Clara began to plan the next gathering, an evening of storytelling under the stars. She envisioned a cozy atmosphere with blankets, hot cider, and a bonfire, inviting everyone to share tales that echoed through the generations. On the night of the gathering, the sky sparkled with stars, and the crackling fire cast a warm glow. Families settled in, blankets wrapped around shoulders, ready to share their stories. Clara felt a sense of magic in the air, the spirit of Mary Elizabeth woven into every whispered word. As Silas shared tales of the mountains and the legends that defined Cedar Hollow, Clara felt her heart swell with gratitude for the connections they had built. Each story echoed with laughter and remembrance, a reminder that they were never truly alone. When it was Clara's turn, she stood and spoke from her heart. "I want to share a story about my husband," she began. "He taught me that love is a journey, one that doesn't end even when we're separated. This garden, our community, and these stories, this is how we keep our loved ones alive." The fire crackled as Clara finished, and she felt the warmth of shared experience enveloping her. People nodded in understanding, their own memories merging with hers. As the night wore on, the tales flowed freely, stories of triumph, heartache, and joy. Clara realized that each story, whether shared with tears or laughter, wove a richer tapestry of their lives. Under the blanket of stars, surrounded by the warmth of community, Clara understood that love, in all its forms, was the essence of Cedar Hollow. The legacy of Mary Elizabeth, the wraith of Widow's Peak, had blossomed into something beautiful. A reminder that even in loss, there is always the potential for new beginnings. As they all settled in for the night, Clara knew that the path forward was filled with hope. She felt her husband's presence, not as a loss, but as a guiding light. In that moment, she understood that their love would continue to flourish, just like the garden they nurtured together and the stories they would carry forward. New horizons. As winter gave way to spring once more, Cedar Hollow was alive with vibrant colors and sounds. Clara felt a sense of renewal in the air, invigorated by the fresh blooms and the laughter of children echoing through the garden. The annual Spring Festival was just around the corner, and Clara was eager to make it the best celebration yet. In the weeks leading up to the festival, Clara collaborated with the townsfolk to organize a variety of events. They planned a flower planting ceremony to honor Mary Elizabeth, a tradition that had begun the previous year. This year, they would also include workshops on gardening and cooking, encouraging families to share their skills and recipes. One sunny afternoon, while gathering materials for the festival, Clara met with Matilda in the garden. "What do you think about adding a storytelling circle for the kids?" Matilda suggested, her eyes twinkling with excitement. They could share stories of their own adventures or create new ones together. Clara loved the idea. Yes, it would be a wonderful way to encourage their creativity and connect with the tradition of storytelling that runs deep in our community. As the festival day approached, Clara and the residents busied themselves with preparations. The garden blossomed under their care, the vibrant flowers and plants a reflection of their hard work and love. Families worked together, creating decorations, preparing food, and setting up booths for the festivities. On the day of the Spring Festival, Clara felt a rush of excitement as she stood at the entrance of the garden, welcoming everyone. The scent of fresh flowers mingled with the aroma of baked goods and savory dishes wafting from the potluck tables. Laughter and music filled the air, creating a vibrant atmosphere that mirrored the beauty around them. Sarvis took to the stage, his voice booming with warmth. "Welcome to our Spring Festival. Today, we celebrate life, love, and the stories that connect us all. Let's honor Mary Elizabeth by planting new seeds and sharing our tales." The crowd erupted in cheers, their energy palpable. Clara felt a surge of joy as she watched families gather, children racing toward the storytelling circle. They settled in, eager to share their adventures. As the day unfolded, Clara floated between booths, helping with activities and engaging with everyone. She overheard snippets of laughter and stories, tales of mountain hikes, summer adventures, and the cherished memories of loved ones. When it was time for the flower planting ceremony, Clara led the group to the designated area, a beautiful patch of earth waiting to be filled with colorful blooms. "Today, we plant flowers in honor of Mary Elizabeth and all those we love," she explained. "Each flower represents a memory, a story that enriches our lives." Families stepped forward, planting flowers together, sharing stories of their loved ones as they dug into the soil. Clara felt tears of joy and gratitude welling in her eyes as she listened to the heartfelt memories shared. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Clara gathered everyone for the final celebration. She stood with her daughters, surrounded by friends, all of whom had become her family. "Thank you for making this festival so special," she began, her voice warm and full of emotion. "Today, we honored our past while celebrating our present. May we always remember that love, like these flowers, continues to bloom in our hearts." With that, the crowd cheered, and Clara felt a deep sense of belonging. As they gathered around for the evening bonfire, stories continued to flow, binding them together in a shared experience of love and memory. That night, as Clara tucked her daughters into bed, she reflected on the festival's success. "We did it," she whispered, her heart full. "We honored our loved ones and strengthened our bonds." As spring transitioned into summer, the warmth of the sun continued to nourish the garden, and Clara's role within the community flourished. Inspired by the success of the festival, she began to think about creating a community cookbook, a collection of recipes and stories from each family, celebrating the diverse culinary traditions that thrived in Cedar Hollow. Clara envisioned a book filled with not just recipes, but the stories behind them. "Every dish has a story," she explained to Matilda one afternoon as they sat in the garden. "It's a way to keep our memories alive and share our heritage with future generations." Matilda's eyes lit up. "Let's host a recipe sharing event. We can gather everyone, cook together, and write down their stories." Excited by the idea, Clara set to work organizing the event. The day arrived, and the garden buzzed with activity as families brought ingredients, cooking tools, and cherished recipes. Clara felt a sense of warmth as she watched everyone working side by side, sharing tips and laughter. As the dishes simmered and baked, Clara moved from group to group, collecting stories alongside the recipes. She was amazed at how food connected them, each dish rich with history and emotion. That evening, as the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone to share their culinary creations. They set up a long table adorned with colorful dishes, casseroles, pies, salads, and preserves. The air was filled with the tantalizing aromas of their hard work. "Tonight we feast," Clara declared, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Let's celebrate the flavors of our community and the stories that have shaped us." As they dined under the stars, the atmosphere was electric with joy. Laughter rang out, and stories flowed as freely as the food. Clara felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that each bite was a reminder of the love that connected them all. Later, as the gathering began to wind down, Clara took a moment to reflect on the evening. Families were exchanging recipes, sharing smiles, and creating memories that would last a lifetime. The seeds of community she had nurtured were blossoming in ways she had never imagined. As summer progressed, Clara continued to gather stories and recipes, compiling them into the community cookbook. The project became a labor of love, with contributions pouring in from families eager to share their culinary heritage. Clara felt honored to be the conduit for these stories, preserving the rich tapestry of Cedar Hollow. As the leaves began to turn and fall approached, Clara planned a special event to unveil the cookbook. It would be a celebration of food, stories, and the bonds that had grown stronger over the year. On the evening of the unveiling, Clara prepared the garden for a cozy gathering. She set up lanterns, decorated tables with fall foliage, and laid out the freshly printed cookbooks, each one a testament to their shared history. When the community arrived, Clara felt a surge of pride. "Tonight, we celebrate our stories and the love that binds us," she began, her voice warm and inviting. "This cookbook is a reflection of our journey together, a way to honor our past while nurturing our present." As they gathered around, families flipped through the pages, reminiscing over the recipes that held special meaning for them. Laughter and stories filled the air, and Clara felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. During the celebration, Clara invited families to share their favorite recipe from the book. As they took turns at the podium, each person spoke not only of the dish, but also of the memories associated with it, the loved ones who taught them, the gatherings where it was shared, and the love infused into every bite. As the night deepened, Clara stood with her daughters, watching the joy and connection that surrounded them. The garden, once a place of solitude for her, had transformed into a vibrant hub of life, love, and community. She felt the spirit of Mary Elizabeth enveloping them, a gentle reminder that love truly never fades. In that moment, Clara knew that Cedar Hollow was home. She had found her family among the mountains, and together they would continue to grow, honor their past, and celebrate the beauty of life. Harvesting memories. As the vibrant colors of autumn filled the landscape, the community of Cedar Hollow buzzed with excitement for the upcoming unveiling of the cookbook, titled Harvesting Memories. Clara spent her evenings poring over the final edits, ensuring every story was beautifully captured alongside the cherished recipes. On the day of the unveiling, Clara awoke early, her heart racing with anticipation. She set to work in the garden, arranging the tables and decorations, while the morning sun painted everything in golden light. She wanted this event to reflect the warmth and love that had gone into creating the cookbook. When the time arrived, families gathered in the garden, their faces filled with excitement. Clara welcomed them, her voice tinged with emotion. "Thank you all for being here today. This cookbook is not just a collection of recipes, it's a tapestry of our lives, woven from the stories and love that bind us together." As the community mingled, Clara watched with joy as families flipped through the pages, reminiscing and sharing their favorite recipes. Children dashed about, their laughter echoing amidst the colorful backdrop of fall leaves. Matilda stepped forward, holding up her copy. "This is incredible, Clara. I can't believe how many stories we have. It's like a piece of each of us is captured in these pages." Clara smiled, feeling a warmth swell within her. "That's exactly what I hoped for. Each recipe carries a piece of our hearts, reminding us of who we are and where we come from." As the afternoon turned into evening, Clara invited everyone to share a dish from the cookbook at the potluck dinner. Tables overflowed with steaming casseroles, savory pies, and vibrant salads. The air was filled with mouth-watering aromas, and Clara's heart sang with happiness as families sat together, enjoying the fruits of their labor. After everyone had filled their plates, Clara stood to make a toast. "To our community, to the stories that connect us, and to the love that continues to grow, just like this garden. May we always remember the power of sharing food and stories." As glasses clinked and laughter filled the air, Clara felt a sense of peace enveloping her. The cookbook had not only brought everyone together, it had deepened their bonds, creating a shared narrative that would endure for generations. But as autumn waned and winter approached, Clara and her neighbors faced an unexpected challenge. A severe storm warning echoed through the mountains, bringing concerns about potential flooding and snow. The townsfolk gathered at the community center, discussing how they could prepare and support one another. Clara's heart raced as she listened to the worries voiced by her neighbors. "We need to ensure that everyone is safe and has what they need," she spoke up. "Let's organize a supply drive and help those who might be vulnerable." Silas nodded in agreement. "We can gather supplies like food, blankets, and other essentials. We can also check on the elderly and anyone who might need assistance." Over the next few days, the community came together in an extraordinary show of solidarity. Clara coordinated efforts to collect items, rallying families to donate what they could. The garden shed transformed into a makeshift supply center, overflowing with canned goods, warm blankets, and essentials. As the storm approached, Clara and her daughters joined neighbors in delivering supplies to those in need. They visited Mrs. Jenkins, a widow who lived alone on the outskirts of town. Clara felt a deep sense of purpose as they brought her food and shared stories, brightening her spirits. "Thank you, dear," Mrs. Jenkins said, her eyes sparkling with gratitude. "You've always been such a kind soul." When the storm finally hit, it rode through Cedar Hollow with a ferocity that took everyone by surprise. Wind howled and snow piled high, blanketing the town in a thick layer of white. Clara huddled in her home with her daughters, grateful for the warmth and safety they had. As the storm raged, Clara's phone buzzed with messages from neighbors checking in on each other. Inspired, she suggested a group video call to boost morale. They gathered in her living room, laughter and stories flowing despite the storm outside. "It feels like we're all in this together," Lally said, her eyes bright with hope. "Even if we can't see each other, we can still connect." Clara nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "That's exactly right, sweetheart. Love and community can weather any storm." As the days passed, the storm eventually subsided, leaving behind a breathtaking winter wonderland. Clara and her daughters ventured outside, marveling at the transformed landscape. The garden, though blanketed in snow, held a beauty of its own, glistening like a dream. The following week, Clara organized a gathering to check in on everyone and celebrate their resilience. Families came together to share hot cocoa and stories about how they had coped during the storm. Clara felt a renewed sense of connection as they swapped tales of kindness and support. During the gathering, Clara shared her idea for a winter tradition, a Warm Hearts Festival to celebrate community, love, and the resilience they had shown. Families would come together to make warm blankets and hats for those in need, using their creativity to spread warmth and joy. As the community embraced the idea, Clara felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. They spent the rest of the evening brainstorming ideas, their laughter echoing in the warm, cozy space. Clara knew this festival would become a cherished tradition, a way to honor their journey together. As winter deepened, the Warm Hearts Festival took shape. Families gathered to create beautiful blankets from donated fabric and yarn, their hands working in harmony as they shared stories and laughter. The sense of purpose fueled Clara's spirit, and she felt the bonds of their community strengthening with each stitch. On the day of the festival, Clara stood at the entrance of the community center, surrounded by vibrant decorations and tables filled with colorful fabric. Families arrived with their contributions, bringing warmth and joy to the chilly day. "Welcome, everyone," Clara called out, her heart racing with excitement. "Today, we come together to spread warmth to those in need and celebrate the love that binds us." As they worked side by side, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Each blanket they created was infused with love and stories, woven not just from fabric, but from the shared experiences that made Cedar Hollow unique. As the day progressed, Clara gathered everyone for a final gathering. "Today has been about more than just making blankets," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "It's a reminder of our strength as a community and the love we share. Together, we can face any challenge and emerge even stronger." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Clara felt a rush of joy wash over her. The warmth of community enveloped her, and she realized that Cedar Hollow had become not just a home, but a family that she would cherish forever. As winter began to transition into spring once more, Clara reflected on the incredible journey they had shared. The cookbook had deepened their connections, and the challenges they faced had only strengthened their bonds. Cedar Hollow had blossomed into a vibrant tapestry of love, resilience, and hope. With the new season approaching, Clara felt an invigorating sense of purpose. There were new stories to be written, new memories to be made, and the garden would soon bloom again, symbolizing the ever-present cycle of life and love in Cedar Hollow. Seeds of change. As winter faded and spring returned to Cedar Hollow, the garden began to awaken. Clara could feel the energy in the air, the promise of new beginnings. The community was still buzzing from the success of the Warm Hearts Festival, and Clara was eager to keep that momentum going. One sunny afternoon, while tending to the garden, Clara gathered a group of neighbors for a brainstorming session. "I think we should start a community garden project," she proposed, excitement dancing in her eyes. It could bring everyone together, provide fresh produce, and foster a sense of responsibility and connection to the earth. Matilda's face lit up. "That's a brilliant idea. We could create designated plots for families, and everyone can share in the harvest. It would be a wonderful way to teach our kids about growing food." The idea quickly gained traction, and soon they were mapping out the garden layout, dividing plots among families, and discussing what vegetables and herbs to plant. Clara felt a surge of joy as she witnessed the enthusiasm spreading among her neighbors. It felt like the perfect way to embrace the spirit of community while nurturing the land. As the days turned into weeks, Clara watched the garden transform. Families worked side by side, digging, planting, and watering. Children laughed as they chased each other among the rows, their excitement infectious. Clara felt a sense of purpose blossoming alongside the seedlings. One day, as they worked, Clara noticed Ben sitting quietly, sketching the garden's layout. Curious, she approached him. "What are you drawing, buddy?" "I'm making a map for our garden," he exclaimed, holding up his paper. "I want to show where we're planting everything." "That's a fantastic idea. We could use that to track our progress and see what's growing where," Clara said, her heart swelling with pride. Ben's creativity was shining through, a reflection of the love and encouragement surrounding him. As spring progressed, the community garden flourished. Clara organized weekly gatherings where families would come together to work, share tips, and enjoy potluck lunches featuring their own homegrown produce. The laughter and camaraderie filled the air, and Clara felt the bonds between neighbors growing stronger. One Saturday, Clara decided to host a garden day, inviting families to come together for a big planting event. She envisioned a day filled with fun activities for the kids, workshops for adults, and plenty of opportunities for connection. As the sun rose on garden day, Clara set up stations around the garden. There were tables for planting seeds, a spot for creating garden markers, and a designated area for children to paint rocks to decorate the garden. The excitement was palpable as families arrived, their arms laden with supplies and freshly baked goods for the potluck. "Welcome, everyone," Clara called out, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "Today, we come together to plant not just seeds, but the future of our community." Throughout the day, laughter and chatter filled the air. Families dug into the soil, planting tomatoes, cucumbers, and herbs. Clara taught kids how to plant seeds, explaining the importance of each one. "These seeds represent potential," she said, "just like each of you. With love and care, they will grow into something beautiful." In the midst of the activity, Clara felt a tug on her sleeve. It was Lily, her eyes wide with excitement. "Mom, can we plant a special garden for Mary Elizabeth? Maybe some flowers she loved." Clara's heart swelled. "That's a beautiful idea, Lily. Let's find a sunny spot and plant a memory garden together." Together, they gathered a variety of flowers, petunias, marigolds, and sunflowers, and set to work creating a vibrant patch in honor of Mary Elizabeth. As they planted, Clara shared stories about Mary Elizabeth's kindness and the legacy she had left in Cedar Hollow. "Every time we come here, we'll remember her," Clara said, her voice soft. "Just like these flowers, her spirit will continue to bloom in our hearts." As the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone around for a final celebration. "Today was about more than just planting a garden," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "We've nurtured our relationships, shared our stories, and created a beautiful space together. This garden will be a testament to our community's love and resilience." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Clara felt a rush of gratitude wash over her. The garden was now a living embodiment of their shared history, a space where memories and love would flourish. As weeks turned into months, the community garden became a vibrant hub of activity. Families gathered regularly, not only to tend to their plots, but also to share meals, stories, and laughter. Clara often organized cooking classes using the produce they harvested, fostering a spirit of collaboration and creativity. One evening, as they prepared for a harvest dinner, Clara noticed a newcomer among them, a woman named Eliza, who had recently moved to Cedar Hollow. She appeared shy, hesitating to join the others. Clara approached her with a warm smile. "Hi there, I'm Clara. Welcome to Cedar Hollow. How are you finding the community garden?" Eliza smiled shyly. "It's wonderful. I've never been part of something like this before. Everyone seems so friendly. We'd love for you to join us," Clara encouraged. "We're all here to support each other and share our love for gardening and cooking. Would you like to help us prepare dinner tonight?" Eliza's face brightened. "I'd love that. I have a few recipes from my grandmother that I'd be happy to share." As they worked together in the kitchen, Clara and Eliza chatted, bonding over their love of food and gardening. Clara felt a sense of fulfillment as she welcomed Eliza into the fold, seeing the community spirit thrive. That night, as they sat down to dinner, Eliza shared her grandmother's famous cornbread recipe. The warmth of the meal and the stories exchanged created an atmosphere of belonging that enveloped everyone present. In the following weeks, Eliza became a regular participant in the garden, quickly forming friendships with the other families. Clara watched with joy as she blossomed into a key member of the community, bringing her own unique flair and enthusiasm to their gatherings. As summer approached, Clara began to think about a new event to celebrate the bounty of their harvest. Inspired by their successful cooking classes, she proposed a Cedar Hollow Harvest Festival, where families could showcase their produce and share recipes with the entire community. Excitement rippled through Cedar Hollow as Clara shared her idea. "Let's invite everyone to bring their best dishes and celebrate the fruits of our labor. We can have games for the kids, live music, and a space for storytelling." The planning began in earnest, and soon families were buzzing with anticipation. Clara worked with Matilda and Silas to coordinate activities, ensuring that there was something for everyone. On the day of the festival, Clara's heart raced with excitement as she stood at the entrance, welcoming families. The garden was transformed into a vibrant festival ground, filled with colorful booths showcasing fresh produce, baked goods, and handmade crafts. As families gathered, Clara felt a sense of joy as she watched the children playing games, the adults exchanging recipes, and the air filled with the sounds of laughter and music. The festival celebrated not just the harvest, but the spirit of community that had flourished over the months. At the center of the festivities, Clara gathered everyone for a group photo. "Let's capture this moment," she called, her heart swelling with pride. "We are a family bound by love, stories, and the joy of sharing." As the sun began to set, Clara and her daughters prepared a table filled with dishes from their garden. She invited families to share their favorites, creating a banquet that reflected the diversity and richness of Cedar Hollow's culinary heritage. During the meal, Clara took a moment to reflect on their journey. "Look at what we've built together," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "This garden, this community, it's a testament to our love and resilience. We've nurtured each other and created something beautiful." Cheers erupted around the table, and Clara felt the warmth of connection enveloping her. The festival was a celebration of not just their harvest, but the stories and relationships that had grown alongside the crops. As summer rolled into fall, Clara embraced the season with gratitude. The garden had become a sanctuary, a place where love, friendship, and resilience intertwined. She felt the spirit of Mary Elizabeth guiding her, reminding her that their community would continue to flourish as long as they nurtured their bonds. With the foundation of the garden and community firmly established, Clara began to envision even greater possibilities. Together, they had sown the seeds of change in Cedar Hollow, and she knew their journey was far from over. Winds of change. As autumn settled over Cedar Hollow, Clara felt a bittersweet mix of emotions. The garden, once bursting with vibrant colors, was now transitioning into a rich tapestry of golds and browns. The harvest festival had been a resounding success, but Clara knew that with the changing seasons came new challenges. One crisp afternoon, while gathering the last of the produce, Clara overheard some neighbors discussing a troubling issue. "The town's budget cuts are hitting us hard," Silas said, concern etched across his face. "They're planning to close the community center unless we can raise funds." Clara's heart sank. The community center was a vital hub for Cedar Hollow, providing a space for gatherings, events, and classes. She knew they had to act quickly to rally support and raise the necessary funds. Determined to make a difference, Clara called a meeting at the community garden, inviting everyone to discuss how they could save the center. As the sun dipped low in the sky, neighbors gathered, concern visible on their faces. "We can't let the center close," Clara began, her voice steady. "It's the heart of our community. We need to organize a fundraising event, a winter wonderland festival. We can have crafts, games, and food, everything that brings us together." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd, and Matilda added, "We could also sell handmade goods and offer classes. The more we involve everyone, the better chance we have to raise the funds we need." Excitement began to build as they brainstormed ideas, and soon the planning committee was formed. Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were ready to take action and ensure their beloved community center remained open. In the weeks leading up to the Winter Wonderland Festival, Clara coordinated with families to gather supplies and organize activities. They held crafting workshops to create handmade goods for sale, and Clara invited Eliza to lead a cooking class featuring winter recipes. As the festival day approached, Clara found herself juggling various responsibilities, but she relished the sense of community spirit surrounding her. Families came together, sharing their talents and creativity, pouring their hearts into every detail. Finally, the day of the Winter Wonderland Festival arrived, transforming the community center into a magical space. Twinkling lights adorned the walls, and tables overflowed with crafts, baked goods, and seasonal decorations. Clara felt a wave of warmth as she saw neighbors smiling and chatting, their spirits lifted by the festive atmosphere. "Welcome, everyone," Clara announced, her heart swelling with pride. "Today, we celebrate not just the season, but the strength of our community. Let's make this festival unforgettable." As families explored the booths, laughter filled the air. The children engaged in festive games, their excitement contagious. Clara took a moment to step back and take it all in, feeling the energy of connection and collaboration that had blossomed over the years. During the festival, Clara noticed Eliza at her booth, demonstrating how to make spiced apple cider. A small crowd had gathered, their faces lit with curiosity. Clara joined in, excited to see Eliza thrive in her element. "This recipe has been in my family for generations," Eliza explained, her passion evident. "It's perfect for cozy gatherings during the winter months." The festival continued into the afternoon, and Clara felt the community coming alive with stories and laughter. Families shared their experiences, the bonds between them growing stronger with each passing moment. As the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone for a final celebration. "Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Together, we've raised enough funds to keep our community center open." Cheers erupted, and Clara's heart soared with gratitude. But just as the celebrations reached their peak, a loud crack echoed through the air. Clara turned to see a large branch from a nearby tree snap, crashing down just outside the center. Panic rippled through the crowd. "Everyone, please stay calm," Clara called out, her voice steady. "Let's move to the parking lot where it's safe." As the families gathered outside, Clara's mind raced. The storm that had been forecasted had arrived sooner than expected. Dark clouds loomed overhead, and a gust of wind swept through the area. "Let's help each other get to our cars safely," Matilda suggested, her voice filled with urgency. Clara nodded, quickly organizing families to ensure everyone got to their vehicles without incident. Once everyone was safe, Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. The festival had been a success, but she knew the storm could complicate matters. As they gathered for a final count, Clara realized that despite the chaos, their community had proven its strength once again. In the days that followed, Clara helped coordinate efforts to clean up the debris from the storm. The community came together once more, their resolve unwavering. They worked tirelessly to restore the garden and the community center, knowing that their efforts would pay off in the long run. As winter settled in, Clara began to plan for the new year. Inspired by the resilience displayed during the festival, she decided to initiate a series of community workshops focused on preparedness and sustainability. "We can learn from our experiences," she said during a meeting with neighbors. "Let's equip ourselves with skills that will help us face whatever challenges come our way." The workshops began in January, covering topics such as emergency preparedness, gardening techniques, and basic home repairs. Clara was amazed by the turnout, with families eager to participate and share their knowledge. Eliza led a session on preserving food, while Silas offered a workshop on building resilience in the face of challenges. As the winter months rolled on, the sense of community grew stronger. Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose as she watched families sharing their skills and stories, fostering an atmosphere of collaboration and support. One evening, as Clara sat with her daughters by the fireplace, she reflected on the journey they had taken together. "Look how far we've come," she said, her heart full. "Our community is thriving, and we've built something beautiful together. Can we plant more flowers in the garden this spring?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I want to make it even more beautiful." Clara smiled, thinking of the upcoming planting season. "Absolutely. We'll fill the garden with even more colors and memories." As spring approached, Clara felt a surge of excitement for the new projects on the horizon. The community was eager to embrace the warmth of the season, and Clara began planning the annual Spring Festival once again. This time, the festival would focus not only on celebrating the beauty of nature, but also on showcasing the skills and knowledge the community had gained over the winter. Clara envisioned booths where families could share their crafts, cooking demonstrations, and workshops on gardening. As she prepared for the festival, Clara reached out to local musicians, inviting them to join in the celebration. The garden would become a lively hub of activity, filled with music, laughter, and the spirit of togetherness. On the day of the Spring Festival, the garden came alive with vibrant colors and joyful energy. Families set up booths, and Clara welcomed everyone with open arms. "Today, we celebrate the beauty of our community and all we've learned together." As the day unfolded, Clara felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. Children raced around, exploring the various activities, while adults shared their crafts and recipes. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and the sweet scent of blooming flowers. In the midst of the festivities, Clara spotted Eliza at her booth, demonstrating a new recipe. "This is a seasonal vegetable tart," she explained to a crowd of eager listeners. "It's a great way to use up those early spring veggies." As the sun began to set, Clara gathered everyone for a moment of reflection. "Thank you all for being part of this beautiful journey. Together, we've built a community that thrives on love, resilience, and shared experiences." Cheers erupted once again, and Clara felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. The garden was more than just a place to grow food. It was a symbol of their shared history and future. As the festival wound down, Clara took a moment to look around. The joy and connection among the families filled her heart with warmth. She knew that Cedar Hollow had become a place where love, stories, and resilience would continue to flourish for years to come. And with that, Clara smiled, knowing that the seeds they had sown, both in the garden and in their hearts, would lead to a future filled with promise, love, and endless possibilities. Roots of resilience. As spring progressed, Cedar Hollow blossomed with life, and Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. The spring festival had been a resounding success, and the community was buzzing with excitement about the upcoming planting season. Clara's vision of a thriving garden, filled with vibrant flowers and fresh vegetables, was slowly becoming a reality. However, with the flourishing community came new challenges. One afternoon, while Clara was tending to her garden plot, she overheard a heated discussion between Matilda and Silas. Curious, she moved closer, sensing tension in the air. "We can't keep ignoring the issues with the water supply," Silas said, frustration evident in his voice. "If we don't address the problem now, we could face a drought this summer." Matilda nodded, her brow furrowed. "I know, but we've already put so much effort into the community center and the garden. We need to find a solution that won't drain us financially." Clara stepped forward, ready to lend her support. "What if we organized a community meeting to discuss it? We can brainstorm solutions together and maybe even come up with a fundraising plan to help improve our water supply." Silas looked relieved. "That's a great idea, Clara. We need everyone's input and support to tackle this issue." Over the next few days, Clara worked tirelessly to organize the meeting. She reached out to neighbors, spreading the word and encouraging them to come together to discuss the water supply concerns. When the day arrived, Clara felt a mix of anxiety and hope as families gathered in the community center, their expressions serious. "Thank you all for being here," Clara began, her voice steady. "Today, we're here to discuss our water supply issues and explore solutions together. This is our chance to make a difference for our community." The discussion quickly became a collaborative effort, with families sharing their ideas and experiences. Clara facilitated the conversation, ensuring that everyone had a chance to voice their concerns and suggestions. "I've heard of successful rainwater collection systems in other towns," suggested Eliza. "We could set up barrels to collect rainwater for our gardens and even for the community center." "That sounds promising," Matilda replied. "But we need to consider the costs and logistics involved. Perhaps we can apply for a grant or seek donations from local businesses." The ideas flowed freely, and Clara felt a sense of hope building among the group. Together, they brainstormed a plan to implement a rainwater collection system, apply for grants, and reach out to local businesses for support. By the end of the meeting, Clara sensed a renewed determination among her neighbors. As the weeks progressed, Clara led efforts to research grants and connect with local businesses. The community rallied behind the initiative, holding bake sales and organizing fundraising events to support the water supply project. Clara's heart swelled with pride as she watched everyone come together, united by a common cause. In the midst of this work, Clara also found time to nurture her relationships with her daughters. One sunny afternoon, she and Lily ventured into the garden to plant marigolds, their bright colors promising to attract pollinators and add beauty to the space. "Mom, can we make a sign for our marigold patch?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Absolutely. Let's use some of those painted rocks we made at the festival," Clara replied, feeling a warmth spread through her heart. They gathered the rocks, and together they painted cheerful messages to place by their flowers. As they worked, Clara shared stories of the significance of marigolds in her own childhood. "When I was your age, my grandmother taught me that marigolds can help keep pests away from vegetables. It's like they're little protectors in the garden." Lanny giggled. "I love that. We should make a special corner for all the flowers, just like Grandma did." By the time the marigolds were planted and their signs adorned the garden, Clara felt a deep sense of connection with Lily, cherishing these moments of creativity and bonding. Meanwhile, the fundraising efforts for the water project began to bear fruit. Clara and the community received grants and generous donations from local businesses, providing them with the resources needed to install the rainwater collection system. Excitement filled the air as the project became a reality. On the day of the installation, families gathered to help. Clara felt a sense of fulfillment as she watched neighbors working together, digging holes for the barrels, connecting pipes, and sharing laughter. The spirit of collaboration shone brightly, and Clara knew this project would bring lasting benefits to their garden and community. As the rainwater collection system was completed, Clara organized a small celebration to commemorate their hard work. They gathered in the garden, surrounded by the beauty of their flourishing plants. Today, We've not only secured a sustainable water supply for our community, but we've also strengthened our bonds, Clara said, her voice filled with emotion. Thank you all for your dedication and teamwork. This garden represents our resilience and commitment to one another. Cheers erupted, and Clara felt a rush of gratitude wash over her. The sense of community had deepened, and Clara was proud to be a part of it. As summer approached, Cedar Hollow continued to thrive. Clara noticed the garden bursting with produce, the laughter of children echoing in the air, and families coming together to share in the bounty. But amidst this joy, Clara sensed an underlying current of change. One afternoon, Clara received a call from her friend Ava, who had moved to a nearby town. Clara, I've been thinking about Cedar Hollow and how much I miss it. I want to come back and visit for a weekend. Can we plan something special? Clara's heart soared at the thought of reconnecting with her friend. Of course, Ava. We're actually preparing for our annual summer solstice celebration. You'd love it. We can have a potluck, games, and lots of activities for the kids. As Clara made plans for Ava's visit, she reflected on how much her life had changed since moving to Cedar Hollow. The friendships she had cultivated and the experiences they shared had transformed her into a more confident and fulfilled person. On the day of the summer solstice celebration, Clara was bursting with excitement as she prepared for Ava's arrival. The garden was adorned with colorful decorations, and the aroma of delicious dishes filled the air as families contributed their favorite recipes. When Ava finally arrived, Clara felt a wave of joy wash over her. They embraced warmly, reminiscing about old times and sharing stories of their lives. I can't believe how beautiful Cedar Hollow has become, Ava marveled as they walked through the garden. You've created something incredible here, Clara. Clara smiled, feeling a sense of pride. It's not just me, it's the whole community. We've come together to build something special. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Clara gathered everyone for the main event of the celebration. Welcome, everyone. Today, we celebrate the longest day of the year and the bonds that unite us. Let's enjoy each other's company and the fruits of our labor. The evening unfolded with laughter, music, and games for the children. Clara watched as families danced and sang, the joy in the air palpable. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that Cedar Hollow had become a place where love, laughter, and connection thrived. Later in the evening, Clara and Ava found a quiet spot beneath the stars, sharing their hopes and dreams. I've been thinking about starting a small business, Ava confided. I want to create eco-friendly products that can help our community live more sustainably. Clara's eyes lit up. That sounds amazing. You could even collaborate with us on garden workshops to promote your products. It would fit perfectly with our community values. As they brainstormed ideas, Clara felt a spark of inspiration. The conversation flowed, and together they envisioned ways to expand their efforts towards sustainability in Cedar Hollow. The celebration continued late into the night, filled with stories and laughter. Clara felt grateful for the love and support that surrounded her. She knew that their community had become a place where dreams could flourish, just like the garden they had nurtured together. As summer gave way to autumn, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. The seeds they had sown, both in the garden and in their hearts, were blossoming into something beautiful. Together, they had created a legacy of resilience, love, and connection that would last for generations to come.